Welcome to Egypt. We're going to take you back in time and consider the great cultures of ancient Egypt. Come on, let's go. In nature, everything that's born dies, and each of us has a life that's quickly coming to an end. What happens to us after we die? How does the answer to that question change the way we live our lives? When we study the traditions of ancient Egypt, we're aware of cultures that were preoccupied with the question of the possibility of an afterlife. What do these great peoples of ancient Egypt still have to teach us? What is their cultural legacy to us?
For more than 20 years, Southern Illinois University has offered a unique program created and led by Dr. Robert Hahn to ancient Egypt. While on these epic adventures, participants explore some of life's great questions as they recreate ancient Egyptian life with hands-on activities. This intellectual adventure explores the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms by focusing on art, sculpture, religious practices, and technological achievements. Participants perform a mummification ritual, reconstruct a model of the Great Pyramids, attempt to erect an obelisk, carve limestone tablets, study the stars in ancient Egyptian astronomy, and learn to paint hieroglyphics. This journey begins on the Giza Plateau, where the group ventured inside one of the great wonders of the ancient world.
This is the entryway now, the original entryway, which leads to the Grand Gallery, and on the other side of the Grand Gallery, we then have the burial chamber.
Well, everybody's having a wonderful journey in the Sahara Desert of the pyramids, and they are all of them on dromedaries.
After traveling through the desert, the group sought to reconstruct the progression of pyramid building by visiting earlier pyramids, such as the stepped pyramid of King Djoser, the Meidum Pyramid, and King Snefru's bent pyramid, and his perfected red pyramid.
Team teaching is a wonderful opportunity because every faculty member has a particular expertise, and in a classroom we're not able always to replicate what our colleagues are able to do because of their background, their personalities, and their educations.
The different range of professors is actually the reason I'm on the trip. I like that this is an educational experience.
I, as a faculty member, got to be with these experts in all these different fields, and so each one of them brought their expertise together to sort of paint a whole picture of the culture.
You get a point of view from, literature to history to architecture, and it really gives you a broad view of what you're really experiencing and standing in the middle of.
So it adds a richness in a course like this and can sort of share and enlighten each of the people on the trip.
Sometimes there are things that I don't know about, that I haven't learned about, and so it gives me an opportunity to stop and tap them on the shoulder, and every single one of them is very enthusiastic. The professors are basically like a giant Google. You can just type something in and they'll tell you the answer.
For me, one of the most exciting features of this trip was the carriage ride we took through Luxor.
Well, now we're taking you through old Luxor in order to see the countryside, the village, the life of the people, the real actual life, which, by the way, it's so much similar to the life of the ancient Egyptian.
We started out in probably 5th or 6th place, and at the last turn we closed into about 3rd place.
Having a beautiful view of the city, of the countryside.
We expect after we resume that we'll probably move up to 1st place.
Everyone who comes to Egypt and stands before the great temples, such as the Temple of Luxor, is overwhelmed by the enormity of the buildings and their beauty. And when we reflect on the plans that these peoples had to come up with thousands of years ago, and the thousands of workers working thousands of days to bring these projects to completion, we're completely overwhelmed by the nature of such monumentality.
After visiting the Temple of Luxor, the group was overwhelmed by the greatest temple in all of Egypt, the Temple of Karnak. And while in Luxor, the group also had the distinct honor of meeting the mayor, where Dr. Han was made an honorary citizen of the city of Luxor in recognition of his research and publications on ancient Egypt, and having brought more than 1,000 students and members of the community to Egypt.
ولكن أريد أن أقول إنني أتشرف بمقابلتك وأتعلم عن بلادكم المهدي والحاضر. Thank you, sir, from all the bottom of my heart. Shukran.
Traveling with a trans-generational group of people is very, very unique. The cross-discussion between ages has always been something that brings up interest and opens insight both for the old and for the young.
The wide range of ages actually kind of enhances the experience because, again, you're getting different experiences from different people. So what someone in their 50s might look at, it might be a different view than what I see as a younger student.
I've learned so much from the young people. The other day we were looking at a temple and I just sort of was talking to myself and asked a question. It was one of the young people that knew the answer, and I found that incredibly inspiring.
We have students ranging from 20 years old to, well, I don't actually know, but I imagine in their 70s, and it has been a fabulous mix.
The interaction between them is just very positive. I actually sat at a table and heard several of the older community members comment on how delighted they were that the students just really embraced them and spoke with them and were very comfortable with them.
For people who are contemporaries of mine, that mix has not been at all a problem. It's been actually very stimulating because you get two different views from two very different age groups.
At first I was a little apprehensive. I didn't realize that it wasn't going to be a totally student trip, but once I got to know some of the older couples, it's been really nice.
What it means for the lifelong learner is to realize that education doesn't stop, with high school. It doesn't stop with a bachelor's degree. It's a continuation throughout your entire life. I mean, to stop learning, you might as well just mummify yourself.
Speaking of mummies, the group explored the tombs of some of the most famous pharaohs, including King Ramses IV and the boy king himself, King Tutankhamun, in the famed Valley of the Kings. And behind every great king is a great queen. Nearby is the Valley of the Queens, home to the fabulous tomb of Queen Nefertari. And contrary to popular belief, the pharaohs were not always men.
We are standing in front of the temple of Queen Hatshepsut, which is the only woman to be ruling as a pharaoh.
I can't say enough about the accommodations we've had, from Le Méridien in Cairo to the cruise ship that we're on now.
We have stayed in some extraordinary hotels. The Mirage Pool at the Movenpick in Luxor was a terrific experience and very welcome. After a hot morning, the pool was an oasis in the desert.
The food on the trip has been very good.
The food is great. It's awesome. different cuisines every night. You get a little taste of everything, from Egyptian to last night we had barbecue.
So what we've got this evening are a lot of choices. We're having a barbecue on the deck of a boat. We're now here cruising Lake Nasser. We're on the Nile in a beautiful place. And we've got potatoes, and we've got spinach. We've got pasta with cheese, tomatoes with fresh peppers. We've got rice, we've got lamb, we've got beef, we've got chicken, we've got duck. There are salads, there are fresh breads. Everything is here for our pleasure, thanks to these great Egyptians.
The marketplaces in Egypt are very similar to the markets of antiquity. This gave the group a unique opportunity to see handmade goods such as alabaster, carpet, perfume, jewelry, and papyrus.
Well, as for this part, now it becomes a bit stronger and flexible than before. Well, let's check it right now. You know, still strong as was before. Nothing happens to it.
The hands-on activities, I think, were very effective teaching tools because people learn in a variety of ways, and probably one of the most significant ways to recall it is to be active, to be kinesthetic in some way.
The project I really enjoyed the most was when we experimented with an obelisk and tried to decide how they actually raise these multi-ton structures, how with manpower you raise an obelisk from flat off the ground to perfectly erect, and that they're still standing today.
I think one of the exciting things for me was one of the hands-on activities of thinking about how a pyramid was built. We actually were trying to construct one with cubes of sugar, and I think for us as well as the students, a hands-on activity like that has to be incredibly educational.
It's actually given me real insight about teaching, not just lecturing to students or having them ask questions of me or having group discussions, but actually people putting their hands on the materials that the Egyptians worked with.
Yesterday we made clay tablets. The Egyptians weren't so fortunate. They worked in limestone and granite. We made the symbols on our clay pretty easy, you know, and we're letting it dry. We're going to paint it. You reflect back that the Egyptians carved in stone. They didn't have clay to tinker with, so to speak.
The hands-on experiences in this trip are very interesting from the standpoint of teaching and learning. If you take them through an exercise, they sometimes get it better than if you just talk to them about it or show them a slideshow. So the actual doing of it reinforces what you were told and makes you carry it home in a different way than you would if you just read it in a book or saw it in a movie.
And it gives an insight that I think is impossible to lecture about, but actually sitting there, carving the stone, making the hieroglyphic forms on the tablets, engaging in a mummification process has given, I think, probably a more lasting way for this knowledge to be held by the students who go on this trip. We're almost done.
As we cruised the Nile, the group stopped each day for a visit to monumental sites, including the Temple of Isis at Philae, Wadi El Sabua, Amada, and finally, Dr. Hahn?
Here we are at the Temple of Horus at Edfu. It's perfectly gigantic. It dates to Ptolemaic times, but it has all of the general features of all of the ancient Egyptian temples. This is the one that's dedicated to the god Horus.
I think that we come to one of the most interesting sites in Egypt. I am presenting you the two temples of Abu Simbel in front of the temple of Ramesses II. And on just right next to it is the temple of Queen Nefertari.
Along with the beautiful scenery, the group also had a chance to let loose.
First of all, I think that your energy level for this trip has to be extremely high. This is an energy sapping experience from lots of ways.
I think everyone needs to travel like this. I think that you can't teach something like this until you've experienced it and walked in history. And this is like a trip back in time.
You have to offer it to somebody who's not going to sightsee, but to learn. So that I think the people who are going to be on this trip will only enjoy it if they want to learn something about this. And I mean, the idea that you get out of your bus and you actually climb into the tombs and you get hot and these are all the things that make this experience way different than somebody who's on a bus and a tour leader is saying, now up here is this and down there is that. That's a tourist. I don't believe we're tourists.
I would suggest this to lots of other students because look where I'm sitting. Like, I have a view of the Nile behind me. We're out at the pool. We spend the mornings going through these ancient tombs. Every single aspect of this program has been incredible.
Oh, I think it just should be required. I mean, it's part of the general studies curriculum, it's part of the core curriculum. I mean, we live in an international world.
It really is necessary for people to come here and to use all 5 of their senses, to hear the sounds of an Egyptian village, to see the size of the temples and the tombs, and to imagine themselves ancient Egyptians awed by the enormity of these monuments, and consequently by the enormity and importance of the gods who were worshipped in these temples.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great delight and a pleasure to bring yet another program to a successful conclusion. Our program is an interdisciplinary, team-taught, hands-on project. And the focus of all of our programs is ultimately, in all ways, a self-discovery. And perhaps next season, you might join us. The program is open to undergraduates and graduate students, people who need course credit, who are matriculating for degrees, or need professional certifications, so they need their course credit. You're most welcome to join. But if you don't need course credit, you're welcome to join, because since the main focus of our program is always life's perennial questions, older and younger, families are all concerned with these issues, and you're all welcome to participate. We hope you can join us on one of our future programs. Thank you. Yeah, baby! More tombs and temples!
For more information, please visit us at colanmc.siu.edu/han/origins.html or call us at 618-453-7670 or email hanrobert@hotmail.com or studyabr@siu.edu.